to practice my drop-in technique for hiking. It is where you can take advantage of just random kind of darts on the map. But in this case we're going to use Google. It keeps it exciting because it takes about 3 to 6 months of training to prepare for a big hike. So what you don't want to do is wait a month before, try to get some resistance training in, working on hills, elevation change, resistance with weights, and then find yourself injured. So in Illinois everything is flat. What I try to do is make it exciting by picking a spot on the map. So I'll pick Google Earth. I'll zoom into my location on Google Earth. It's pretty decent as far as interactivity. Once I get to my area, that's kind of where I live, I'll look around, kind of look for bodies of water or green patches, and just kind of pick something I haven't been to yet. Here's one. So this is an area, it's kind of close to my house. I see there's a lot of green here, there's a lot of brown, so it's probably prairie and forest. I'm just used to the topographics. So I'll zoom in on this area that I picked, and I'll investigate. And it turns out this kind of paved way and cul-de-sac and parking lot, that's probably a forest preserve. And I can see here, coming off the forest preserve, you have a paved area. It starts in a prairie and it ends up through the woods, through another prairie, kind of a lakeside view, and then back in the woods. So this is an up and back. And if I wanted to go off trail, there's a lake over here. It looks like either a tributary. Nope, that's another trail that goes around this smaller lake. So this looks pretty exciting, and I bet you there's ways to get across to the other lakes. Nope, that's mostly private area. But this is worth investigating. So now what I would do is zoom out, try to find my directionals, and then head on in. So that's going to be how to do a drop-in hike. So here we are at the trail head. The forest preserves in Illinois have information panels at the trailhead, gives you ideas about the trail, the local area, and the distance. So always good information. You can see that the weather wasn't as I had looked up this morning, so having extra clothing, maybe a bottle of water, some food, communication is always important. Otherwise your hike becomes very painful or irritating. So we're going to start off now. Something to keep in mind in case you're doing this drop-in hiking technique for your training is to always let somebody know where you're going. You can either leave a voicemail on somebody's phone, write it down at home, or you can do it, leave a message or a little note on your car, but then the question is going to come about security. If somebody decides to come by and go through your car because you're not going to be around for a couple hours, well, it's not a good thing, but always communicate. Hopefully it's not a big deal, but you know, in cases of a sprained ankle, getting lost, getting sick on the trail, it's important, especially if you have medical problems and it's a hot day or excessively cold. You have to be careful. So you probably won't need it, but always good to prepare. This is where we're kind of finishing up the loop that we came into. Typically trails are going to be up and back, so that means straight up and back, or there'll be a loop. Here is up and back, it ends in a loop, and we head back to the parking lot now. So again, something to keep in mind, because if you have a straight up and back, and it's say a mile to a mile and a half on the trail legend, but it's all incline, it'll take you almost twice as long. So you have to be careful with regards to weather conditions, your conditioning, your physical conditioning. So always prepare ahead of time and train like you're training now. This is going off trail. This is probably an animal trail right here. I'm not sure if you can make that out. It comes out, so you have to keep an eye out from where you're hiking pathway, take it. See where it leads. Usually there's going to be a nice vista somewhere. And a vista is not always going to be like going to Zion or the Grand Canyon. But it'll be kind of like a summit that you can take advantage of, where you can pause, do some breathing exercises. But it gives you a little bit of excitement to what would normally be an easy loop of a hike. And this is the trail. So again, if you look and see, if you're passing by, you might not notice it. I usually look for things like that off of the pebble path. One of the beauties of going off trails is that when you're on regular paved or groomed trail and you see this mowed portion or this area that looks like it's been cut, it usually means that you're allowed to go and investigate what's on the other side. The only problem, or the only thing you should keep in mind, is that if it takes you off the trail, you have to know how much time you're going to be spending either getting lost or going up and back. And you got to know when to turn around so that you can get back to your vehicle or get back to your destination in time before sunset. If you don't have a GPS and you're not good at reading maps, then you can always do an old-fashioned technique called hand railing. In the trail that I'm on now, it's just a simple 1 mile up and back with a loop at the end. Hand railing is when you first start out the trail, you take notice for where the sun is or where houses are, what's always on your right side, because coming back, especially if you know that the trail is up and back, everything that was on your right side you're going to expect on your left side. It might not seem important out here where it's well mapped, but it is important when you're in canyons, when you're in desert. Even in the city, technically, if you don't know, if you're in New York and you're not sure where you are, look and see where Empire State Building is or one of the bridges, and you might be able to find your way back. So that's called hand railing. So in this case, where I went off trail, at least to this mowed area, I'm not sure where it leads to as far as down there, but I know from my GPS that my car is over here, so because of lack of time this time, I'm going to cut straight through. And most of these plant species are not endangered, and there's no signs that say don't trample. So we're going to go through and get back onto paved road so we can end our hiking technique. So the only thing I have to watch out for is insects or snakes, but likely it is no snakes.